AskReddit by Jonathan Quiregnan. Redditors, what is the most fucked up thing you have ever done? When I was young, some people in my neighborhood always complained to me and the other children about everything. We couldn't play football in the street or make too much noise or hide behind their car while playing hide and seek, etc. One day we had enough of it and took their garden hose and stuck it in the mailbox, that in my country is their opening in the door, and turned it on and ran away. I don't even want to know how much water damage they had because of that. The Wet Bandits. I pooped in a sock to slap a friend with it. Among all the answers here, this one was the only one that made me say what the fuck, except for the one about watching CPOFC. My sister used to pay me 10 cents a minute to be her personal footrest as he watched TV. $6 an hour? Depending on how long ago it was and where you were, that might have been minimum wage. When I was married, my ex-wife and I went to a bar with a couple friend. They were more her friends than mine. The wife of the couple made it clear she didn't like me and spent the evening taking as many shots at me as possible. As she got drunker, the insults became more frequent and meaner. My attempts to fire back were stopped by her husband and my ex-wife. I was expected to take it but not give it. She went to the restroom and as she got off her chair, the leg broke and she face planted. Ex-wife and bitch went to the restroom. Husband of bitch went to find the manager. I swapped chairs with the table next to ours and told the manager that the injury, a broken nose, wasn't due to a broken chair but because she was drunk and fell over. Bah, this is the best story so far. I stole a laptop from my old job. It was a brand new MacBook that they ordered. One too many of them just sat in a closet for the 3 years I worked for this huge corporation. I was it, so I knew how and had the ability to wipe it from all the records. I feel kinda bad about it cause it's worth a lot, so a felony theft, but they really didn't even know it existed and I needed a computer. I chalk it up to all the unpaid OT I worked to make me feel better. I could only hit 40 by contract and some jobs required more than that per week. Doesn't surprise me at all. Corporate America can be incredibly wasteful of resources. If they lay off an entire department, what happens to their laptops? They sit in a closet until it's recycle time. Ridiculous. They can't even be used as a spare if someone's machine goes down because the budget is for a specific department that was cut. So I could see why someone would do it. I wouldn't feel too guilty as it wouldn't be the first time a company ordered too many of a given item. And if you haven't paid OT, the problem is if you're caught you have major problem on your hands. You just tossed your career away for a thing that was obsolete the day it was bought. And the thing is probably obsolete today. In my company, rank and file people got mid-range i5s, so it's not like they were super attractive to a potential thief. I flew to Morocco for vacation a couple of years ago, and one day due to acclimatization issues while in the swimming pool I realized that in an extremely near future I'm gonna have an explosive diarrhea. I ran to my hotel room and almost made it to my room but not quite. Long story short, since there was nobody on the hotel floor cause it was lunchtime, and I knew from the deep of my heart that I wouldn't make it to my room, I unleashed a load of my liquid chocolate thunder into a huge flower pot that was on the floor. Some poor hotel maid was definitely forced to clean that out and I couldn't even tip her. Similar story from me. About 10 years ago I bought a blender for smoothies trying to eat healthier in the mornings. Put way too much fruit in the smoothie that morning and halfway into my hour-long bus ride knew I wasn't making it into work before absolutely exploding. Rang the bell, got off the bus in a suburb. No businesses around and no time left to hold it, and I ran into someone's backyard bushes and painted their fence a deeper shade of brown. I'm sorry, random family, not the kind of stain you were expecting on your fence. I once tried to commit suicide. I was severely depressed by setting my body on fire. Results: 4 months in hospital and 14 skin transplants surgery, and my depression got even worse. Now thankfully I'm fine. Coming back from that is absolutely fucking astonishing. Both physically and mentally. I hope you realize that every day. One day I was showing magic trick to my little niece where I made one of her chocolate disappear. I never returned that chocolate back and later ate it. You're a real monster. When I was in the army I got pretty low. I put the barrel of my rifle in my mouth and pulled the trigger. Gun jammed. Sometimes I wonder if that was a miracle or a curse. From a random nobody on the internet, I'm glad you are still here. I hope you have gotten or getting supportive help and that life gets better for you. Smoked a cigarette full of pubic hair for money. How much money? These answers are veering wildly between funny and depressing as fuck. Banged my ex-girlfriend's sister and then told her. Sister banged her sister's ex-boyfriend, arguably worse. Made an unwarranted nasty comment about one of my closest friends in an effort to seem cool, and she was sitting right there across the room, heard it, went red in the face, and looked like she was about to cry. I wanted to die right then and there and I would have deserved it. Did you apologize at some point? Had to kill a newborn baby rabbit because my dog got a hold of it and fucked it up super bad and I didn't want to watch it suffer. So I thought destroy the brain. That will work, so I stabbed it in the head. Only that didn't work and he started to try and run and I panicked and picked up a big concrete block and squished him. Don't feel bad, you meant well. Just botched the execution. No pun intended. Honestly, you did probably kill it and simply saw the autonomic nerve response. It usually appears like they are running but they are dead as any animal that's ever died. Without a brain return signal, the nerves in muscle tissue fire randomly for a bit. My 12-year-old dumbest thought, after watching videos on YouTube, that applying honey to your eyes directly can change light and its color naturally. Boy, it was painful. A week LMAO. When I was 17, my grandma was dying. I didn't want her to die, so I demanded my grandpa to take her place because nobody wanted him around. Who all was around and what were their reactions? Because 17 is definitely old enough to warrant a what the fuck emo. Deleted. Honestly, as someone who grew up working class in England, this seems pretty run of the mill. This was just standard stuff that happened. I've never bought booze for underage people myself, but I saw it and knew many who would happily buy a toddler cigarettes if they would give them a few quid for the trouble. It's odd what you get used to, and it feels weird looking back after not being in that bubble for years. I used to get drunk in pubs at 16/17. I was tall and gave the barman plausible deniability, but to him, my money was still money. They all knew though. No one cared. It's not the most fucked up thing, but when I was in college, my roommate was an asshole and had no respect for anyone, so one day I had enough and took his toothbrush and rubbed my ballsack on it. For days I couldn't stop laughing when he brushed his teeth, which would only make him more pissed. That enough Reddit for me today. I think I'ma go outside. Not the most fucked up. The roommates of my girlfriend were making her life very difficult, leaving garbage rotting in her room while on vacation, piercing our condoms and more. I used to pee on their sponges of the bath. Never told them. Piercing your condoms is a serious offense. Should have reported them. I served a woman an eviction notice on Christmas Eve. She had just gotten out of the hospital and was bedridden on her couch, while her husband slept the few hours he had between his 3 jobs. It's the worst thing I've ever done. I quit that job shortly afterwards. She was so nice too. Fuck. I once had to serve a lawsuit on someone dying in hospice, because my firm's client was suing her over some stupid petty shit. Like literally had to walk up to her bed as she lay there dying and let her know she was getting sued in a neighbor dispute. Then she died and I had to change the lawsuit to sue her estate instead. Fucking hell. I cheated on my wife a month after our 3rd son was born. It sucks that I can't take that back 18 years later and I still don't feel like I can ask for forgiveness. It happened in 2004. I moved out, we went through therapy, we talked about the whys and the what to do nows. I was over at our house with the kids and was watching the ALCS while we played. She was on the couch. That was the year Boston came back to beat the Yankees, and I think it was game 7, but I'm not sure. She was never a baseball on television person, but she really followed the Sox that postseason. After the WS was over, I was over working in the yard and the kids were playing outside. She came out with a box for me. Inside the box was a Red Sox hat. We live in Atlanta, and I'm not a Sox fan. Inside of the hat was a note from my wife that said, "I figure if Boston can come back and beat the odds, so can we. I love you." I still have that note in my wallet as a reminder that the thrill of the chase isn't as thrilling as finishing the race with the person I started it with. Best answer by a country fucking mile. Intentionally got pregnant at 15. I had a non-functional relationship at home with my mum. I was also groomed by a man nearly 10 years older than me. I ended up moving in with him. Mom claims I ran away. I think I was chucked out. Either way, she did nothing to try and find me. I realized this was a horrible situation and I wanted to get away from him. I knew that at 16 I could claim benefits and housing in sheltered housing if I had a baby. He had sex with me multiple times. I did nothing to prevent a pregnancy. It's something I'd never admit to my child, ever. Those who had peaceful childhoods will never understand the things people had to do to survive. I have my own story that I have never told a soul. Not because I am ashamed. I think the people who were supposed to care for me let me down, but it is still too painful to recount over 20 years later. I don't know what miracle brought me through all of that to where I am today. After my mother had a stroke that nearly rendered her paralyzed, I visited her in the hospital, and while she slept I whispered in her ear that I hope she died and freed me from the burden of having her as a mother. I'm not sure if she heard me or not, but we don't talk anymore. For reference, she was incredibly abusive and neglectful of me all through my childhood. But saying those words felt like the worst thing I could have ever said to someone. Matched with a fake profile on Hinge. Thought with my dick. She was a video call, a scammer of sorts. She recorded me with my dick out and blackmailed me. A police complaint scared her and helped me settle her. By far the most fucked up thing I have ever done. Bros, don't think with your dick and use your head. I had a similar experience, lol. I just refused to pay. They wanted me to send them money or else they would send my pics to all my Instagram contacts. I refused and nothing ever came of it, thankfully. Pro tip, don't ever send naked pictures of yourself to someone you don't personally know. Broke my best friend's leg for getting my girlfriend pregnant. The most important question. So, how did you break his fucking femur? I used to be a heroin junkie. Like pretty bad for 5 years. I was driving and nodding out and ended up rear-ending a parked car. Luckily I was only going like 20